The neural scanner's crystalline surface hummed with alien energy as Maya felt its tendrils probe the edges of her consciousness. She kept her breathing steady, her heartbeat controlled, even as the Vex interrogator's compound eyes studied her with predatory interest. Human designation Maya Kane, the creature spoke through its translator, its voice like grinding metal. Your species believes it can infiltrate our facilities with impunity. This arrogance will be corrected. Maya said nothing. 3 days ago, she had been Agent Kane of Earth's Special Operations Division, tasked with infiltrating the Vex research complex on Titan 7. The mission had been going perfectly until someone or something had blown her cover. Now she sat strapped to an examination table in the deepest levels of the facility, surrounded by technology that defied human understanding. The interrogator, who had introduced himself as Research Prime Vex, circled her like a predator. His elongated limbs moved with mechanical precision, each step calculated to intimidate. The Vex had conquered 17 star systems through psychological warfare as much as military might. They understood fear, despair, and the breaking point of every species they had encountered, but they had never encountered a human. Your neural patterns are unusual, Vex noted, his multifaceted eyes reflecting the scanner's light. Most species exhibit immediate stress responses to our interrogation matrix. You remain remarkably calm. Maya allowed herself a slight smile. Maybe you're not as scary as you think. The room's temperature dropped several degrees. Vex's mandibles clicked in. What she had learned was their equivalent of laughter. Your bravado is admirable but pointless. We have extracted secrets from the crystalline minds of the ethereal collective. We have broken the hive consciousness of the swarmer queens. What makes you believe your primitive neural structure can resist us? Try me, Maya whispered. The first wave of neural assault hit her like a sledgehammer to the skull. Pain receptors throughout her body fired simultaneously, creating a symphony of agony that would have killed most sentient beings outright. Maya gritted her teeth and held on, feeling her consciousness fragment under the assault. But something remarkable happened. Instead of breaking, her mind began to adapt. The pain became background noise, filed away in mental compartments she had trained herself to create during her years of covert operations. And in that space between agony and awareness, Maya began to study her captors. The neural scanner operated on quantum frequency patterns. The pain inducers used bioelectric stimulation at specific wavelengths. Every piece of technology in the room was designed around the Vex understanding of consciousness, an understanding that had never accounted for human resilience. Fascinating, Vex muttered, increasing the intensity. Your neural pathways are actually strengthening under duress. This is unprecedented. Maya's vision blurred, but her mind remained sharp. She had spent years studying alien psychology, learning to think like her enemies. The Vex were apex predators, but they were also researchers. Their need to understand would be their downfall. Your species, she gasped between waves of pain, has never faced anything like us, has it? Vex paused the torture, his interest clearly piqued. Elaborate. Every species you've conquered evolved on stable worlds. Perfect conditions. No ice ages, no mass extinctions, no evolutionary pressure. Maya's voice grew stronger despite her restraints. Humans survived the death of our planet a dozen times over. We adapted to everything: fire, ice, flood, famine. We didn't just survive, we thrived. Every great journey starts with a few brave explorers. Sci-fi stellar conflict is just beginning. And your support means everything. If you're hungry for HFY battles and tales of human valor against alien might, hit subscribe. It's free, and it helps us bring these front lines to you. You think pain will break us? Maya continued, her eyes meeting Vex's compound gaze. Pain made us. Every human child learns to endure what would cripple your warriors. We turn suffering into strength. Vex's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of agitation. Impossible. All sentient species have breaking points. All consciousness can be shattered. Then, you understand nothing about humanity, Maya said, and meant it. She had volunteered for this mission, knowing capture was likely. But she had also known something the Vex didn't, that human minds were forged in crucibles they couldn't imagine. The interrogator activated additional neural probes, their crystalline surfaces gleaming with malevolent energy. We shall see. Agent Kane, we shall see. As the second wave of torture began, Maya closed her eyes and prepared for the most important performance of her life. She would break, but only in the way she chose to break. And in those carefully crafted fractures, she would hide the seeds of humanity's victory. The Vex thought they were studying her. They had no idea she was studying them back. Hours passed, or perhaps days' time lost all meaning in the sterile white chamber where Maya's ordeal continued. Vex had summoned additional interrogators, their collective compound eyes studying her with scientific fascination and growing frustration. Subject: exhibits neuroplasticity beyond all recorded parameters, announced the newcomer, a taller Vex with silver markings that Maya had learned indicated higher rank. Research Prime, your methods are proving inadequate. Maya suppressed a laugh. That would have been dangerous to release. Through the haze of orchestrated agony, she had been cataloging everything: security protocols, shift changes, the subtle hierarchy displayed through posture and marking patterns. The Vex were methodical creatures, and their very precision was becoming their weakness. Escalate to Phase 3, silver markings ordered. Deploy the consciousness fragmenters. Maya's blood chilled despite her preparation. The consciousness fragmenters were theoretical weapons in human intelligence files, devices that could supposedly shatter a being's sense of self by attacking the quantum structure of memory itself. If they were real, if they worked, her mission would end here. The new device resembled a metallic flower, its petals opening to reveal a core of swirling energy that hurt to look at directly. As it activated, Maya felt something she had never experienced before, her memories beginning to blur and shift, her sense of identity becoming fluid. But even as her consciousness wavered, her training held. Years of meditation, of learning to compartmentalize trauma, of building mental walls that could withstand psychological assault, all of it came together in a moment of desperate clarity. Instead of fighting the fragmentation, Maya embraced it. She let the device scatter her surface thoughts, while protecting her core mission parameters in the deepest recesses of her mind. To the Vex, she would appear to be breaking down. In reality, she was performing the most complex deception of her career. I can single quotes please. She whispered, letting her voice crack with convincing desperation. Vex leaned closer, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Now we see the truth. What is the location of your species' primary fleet? Maya fed him coordinates to an empty system. Tears streaming down her face, tears of pain, but also of triumph. The Vex interpreted emotion as weakness, not understanding that humans had learned to weaponize their own suffering. The 7th Fleet is stationed at Beta Centauri. She gasped. Admiral Grant. He's planning to strike your shipyards at ... At where? Silver markings demanded. Kepler 447, Maya finished, giving them the location of an abandoned mining station. Next week, they think. They think you don't know about. The gravity well generators. The Vex exchanged rapid clicks, their equivalent of excited whispers. Maya had just fed them intelligence that would send their forces on a wild chase across 3 star systems. Better yet, she had learned that they had no idea about humanity's actual technological capabilities. Your species is indeed formidable, Vex admitted, his tone carrying grudging respect. But you have underestimated our ability to verify information. If you have deceived us. I told you what you want to know, Maya said, her voice hollow with manufactured defeat. Just ... please, no more. But even as she played her role, Maya's mind was racing. The Vex had revealed crucial information about their verification protocols. They relied on quantum encrypted communications with their fleet commanders, transmissions that followed predictable patterns. Patterns that human cryptographers could exploit if they knew the right frequencies. The consciousness fragmenter powered down, its job apparently complete. Maya slumped in her restraints, every muscle in her body genuine sore from hours of tension. But her mind remained sharp, filing away every detail of their technology, their procedures, their mindset. Place the subject in holding cell 7, Silver Markings ordered. We will verify her information before proceeding with additional interrogation. As they moved her through the facility's corridors, Maya memorized the layout, the guard rotations, the subtle differences in security protocols at each checkpoint. The Vex were thorough, but they had one fatal flaw. They assumed their prisoners were as broken as they appeared. Maya had survived the worst they could throw at her. More importantly, she had learned something that would change the course of the war. The Vex were powerful, advanced, and utterly convinced of their own superiority. But they had never faced an enemy that could turn its own suffering into strength, that could find opportunity in the depths of apparent defeat. In her cell, alone for the first time in days, Maya began to plan her escape. The Vex had shown her their technology, their methods, their weaknesses. They had given her everything she needed to not just survive, but to strike back. They thought they had broken her. They had no idea they had just forged her into a weapon. Maya's cell was a masterpiece of Vex engineering, walls that could withstand plasma charges, atmospheric controls that could be adjusted to slowly suffocate prisoners, and surveillance systems that monitored everything from heartbeat to neural activity. What the Vex didn't understand was that humans had spent millennia learning to find opportunity in the most hopeless situations. For the past 18 hours, Maya had been studying the cell's systems while maintaining her facade of a broken agent. She discovered that the Vex had designed their prison based on the psychological profiles of previously conquered species, beings that became catatonic when faced with hopelessness, that shut down when separated from their social structures. Humans, Maya reflected, were different. Humans had evolved in isolation, had learned to thrive alone, had developed the ability to maintain hope even in the darkest circumstances. What the Vex saw as imprisonment, Maya saw as reconnaissance. The doors energy field shimmered, and Vex entered with 2 guards. His compound eyes fixed on Maya's huddled form in the corner, apparently catatonic with trauma. "Perfect. Agent Kane," he said, his translator rendering his satisfaction in mechanical tones. "Your intelligence has proven ... partially accurate. Our scouts have confirmed fleet movements near Beta Centauri. However, certain details require clarification." Maya looked up slowly, her eyes unfocused and haunted. "I told you everything. Please, I just want to go home." "Home," Vex repeated, his mandibles clicking with what she had learned was amusement. "An interesting concept. Your species clings to planetary attachment even when facing extinction. This psychological weakness has proven most useful in our conquest strategies." He gestured to one of his guards, who activated a portable neural interface. "We require additional information about your military's command structure. This device will extract the necessary data with minimal ... discomfort." Maya's heart raced, but she kept her expression blank. The portable interface was exactly what she had been hoping for, a direct connection to the Vex information network. They were about to hand her the keys to their entire operation. "Do what you want," she whispered. "I'm already dead inside." The neural interface felt like ice against her skull as it established connection. Maya felt the alien technology probe her mind, searching for military secrets, command codes, strategic information. What it found instead was a carefully constructed maze of false memories, misdirection, and psychological traps she had spent years learning to build. To Vex, she appeared to be surrendering classified information. In reality, she was downloading everything. The device had access to fleet positions, facility layouts, communication protocols, and most importantly, the location of the Vex High Command. "Fascinating," Vex murmured, studying the readouts. "Your Admiral Grant appears to be more paranoid than our initial assessment suggested. These security measures around Earth's orbital defense platforms are ... extensive." Maya fed him detailed information about non-existent weapon systems, fictional troop movements, and imaginary technological breakthroughs. Every lie was crafted to send Vex forces away from Earth's real defenses while revealing their own capabilities. "The quantum entanglement communicators," she said, her voice barely audible. "They're hidden in the asteroid belt. Frequency 7911. Grant thinks you can't break quantum encryption." Vex's entire posture shifted with interest. "Quantum entanglement communication? Your species has achieved this level of technological advancement?" 3 months ago, Maya lied smoothly. The prototype worked. Grant's been using it to coordinate with the outer colonies without you knowing. It was a perfect trap. The Vex would spend enormous resources trying to locate and intercept communications that didn't exist, while revealing their own quantum technology capabilities. More importantly, they would underestimate humanity's actual communication methods. This changes our strategic calculations significantly, Vex admitted. Your species is more advanced than we initially assessed. Maya almost smiled. The Vex's greatest weakness was their need to understand, to categorize, to fit every enemy into their established paradigms. They couldn't conceive of an enemy that deliberately appeared weaker than it actually was, that used deception not as a last resort, but as a primary weapon. The Admiral's planning something big, Maya continued, letting desperation creep into her voice. He wouldn't tell me what, but the code name was Prometheus Fire. He said it would end the war. Vex exchanged rapid clicks with his guards. Maya had just given them a fictional operation that would send their intelligence services into overdrive, wasting resources on a threat that didn't exist while leaving them unprepared for humanity's real plans. You have been most cooperative, Vex said finally. Your information will be invaluable in our final assault on your homeworld. Maya's blood ran cold, but she kept her expression neutral. Final assault. The Vex were planning to attack Earth. Directly, sooner than intelligence had predicted. Her mission had just become infinitely more critical. When? She asked, not having to fake the fear in her voice. Soon, Vex replied, his compound eyes gleaming with anticipated victory. Your species resistance ends within the week. As the neural interface powered down, Maya felt the weight of her responsibility. She had the intelligence humanity needed to survive, but she was trapped in the most secure facility in Vex space. Getting this information to Earth would require her to do something unprecedented, not just escape, but fight her way out. Maya had always known this mission might be one way. But as she slumped back into her corner, pretending to be a broken shell of her former self, she began to plan the most audacious escape in human history. The Vex thought they had extracted her secrets. They had no idea they had just handed her theirs. Maya had been counting heartbeats for 72 hours, using the rhythm to track guard rotations and system cycles. The Vex operated on precise schedules, their mechanical precision becoming predictable. At exactly 0300 hours by her internal chronometer, the facility's power grid would cycle to auxiliary systems for 12 minutes of routine maintenance. 12 minutes was all she needed. The portable neural interface had given her more than intelligence. It had provided a complete schematic of the facility's security systems. The Vex had designed their prison to contain beings that thought like them, that followed logical patterns and predictable behaviors. They had never imprisoned a human before. Maya began her performance at 0255, clutching her chest and gasping in apparent cardiac distress. The cell's medical sensors immediately registered her elevated heart rate and irregular breathing patterns. As expected, the automated systems triggered a medical alert. 2 guards arrived within minutes, their compound eyes scanning Maya's convulsing form with clinical detachment. They saw a human prisoner apparently dying from the stress of interrogation, a regrettable but acceptable loss. Medical intervention required, one guard announced, approaching with a portable diagnostic scanner. Subject exhibits signs of cardiac failure. Maya waited until the scanner touched her skin, then struck with movements honed by years of combat training. Her first blow crushed the guard's primary sensor cluster, flooding its nervous system with feedback. The second guard managed to raise an alarm before Maya's improvised garrote torn from her own clothing rendered it unconscious. The facility's alert systems activated, but Maya was already moving. She had memorized every corridor, every checkpoint, every vulnerability during her transport to the cell. The Vex had shown her their security measures, never imagining she would use that knowledge against them. Emergency bulkheads began sealing, but Maya was faster. She dove through the closing barriers, her human flexibility allowing her to contort through gaps that would have stopped any Vex. Their rigid exoskeletons, evolved for strength and durability, became a liability in the confined spaces of their own facility. Guards converged on her position, but Maya had spent her career studying alien psychology. The Vex were pack hunters, relying on coordination and overwhelming force. They had never faced a lone human warrior trained in asymmetric warfare. Maya turned their own corridors into a maze of death. She used their precise formations against them, channeling their advances into choke points where their numbers became meaningless. A commandeered energy weapon became an extension of her will, its alien ergonomics adapted through pure necessity. Impossible, she heard one guard click to another as she eliminated an entire patrol. How can one being move so unpredictably? Maya smiled grimly. The Vex had evolved on a world of logic and order. They had never needed to develop the chaotic, improvisational thinking that had allowed humans to survive everything from ice ages to world wars. Their greatest strength, their methodical approach to problem-solving, became their weakness when faced with human creativity. The facility's central armory was her next target. Maya had identified it during her mental cataloging, noting its position at the intersection of 3 major corridors. The Vex had placed it there for defensive purposes, allowing rapid deployment of weapons to any sector. They had never considered that an enemy might use that same positioning to access their entire arsenal. Breaking into the armory required more than combat skills. It demanded the kind of technical improvisation that humans had mastered through millennia of survival. Maya used components from destroyed security systems to create a makeshift electromagnetic pulse device, frying the armory's locks in a cascade of sparks. Inside, she found weapons designed for Vex physiology, too large for human hands, too heavy for human strength. But Maya had learned to adapt, to overcome, to find solutions where others saw only problems. She modified plasma rifles into portable cannons, turned defensive shields into offensive weapons, and created combinations that no Vex engineer had ever imagined. The escape route led through the facility's main laboratory, where Maya's original torture had taken place. She paused at the threshold, seeing the consciousness fragmenter still active, still radiating its terrible energy. An idea formed, dangerous, desperate, but potentially brilliant. Maya activated the device and aimed it at the facility's main computer core. The consciousness fragmenter, designed to shatter organic minds, tore through the quantum matrices that comprised Vex artificial intelligence. Data cascaded and uncontrolled. Streams, security protocols collapsed, and the entire facility's nervous system began to shut down. Emergency lighting failed. Life support systems stuttered. Communication networks dissolved into static. Maya had turned the Vex's most sophisticated torture device into a weapon of mass technological destruction. Guards stumbled through darkened corridors, their coordination shattered by the loss of their computer networks. Maya moved among them like a ghost, her human night vision and spatial awareness providing advantages they had never anticipated. The facility's docking bay came into view, illuminated by the glow of emergency flares. 3 ships waited there, sleek Vex fighters designed for speed and stealth. Maya had studied their control systems during her interrogation, noting their similarities to human aircraft. Adaptation had always been humanity's greatest strength. As Maya strapped herself into the pilot's seat of the nearest fighter, she felt the weight of her mission settling on her shoulders. She carried intelligence that could save her species, but only if she could survive long enough to deliver it. The fighter's engines roared to life, their alien harmonics vibrating through her bones. Maya had never flown a Vex ship before, but she had learned to pilot everything from atmospheric craft to orbital interceptors. The principles were the same: thrust, momentum, and the will to survive. As the docking bay's magnetic field collapsed and space opened before her, Maya pushed the fighter to maximum velocity. Behind her, the facility's emergency systems failed completely, plunging the complex into darkness. She had not just escaped, she had crippled one of the Vex's most important intelligence centers. The journey to Earth would take days, but Maya had everything she needed: intelligence that would change the war, a ship that could outrun most Vex interceptors, and the unbreakable human will to see her mission through to the end. The Vex had tortured her, studied her, and ultimately underestimated her. Now they would learn the price of that mistake. Earth's orbital defense platforms powered up as Maya's stolen fighter approached the Sol system, their targeting sensors tracking the alien vessel with lethal precision. She had expected this reception. Any Vex ship approaching Earth would be destroyed without question unless proper protocols were followed. "Control, this is Agent Maya Kane. Identification code Delta 77 Alpha 9. She transmitted on emergency frequencies. I am in a captured Vex fighter carrying critical intelligence. Do not fire. The response came seconds later, crackling with disbelief and desperate hope. Agent Kane, this is Admiral Grant. You've been listed as missing in action for 8 days. Please verify your identity. Maya recited her personal verification codes, mission parameters, and details that only she would know. As Earth's defenses stood down, she felt the weight of her ordeal finally beginning to lift. She was home, but her mission was far from over. Hours later, Maya sat in the highest security briefing room on Luna Station, facing the assembled leadership of Earth's military forces. Her body still bore the marks of Vex torture. Her mind still carried the echo of their interrogation techniques, but her voice was steady as she began her report. The Vex are planning a direct assault on Earth within 72 hours, she began. Their fleet will arrive via quantum tunneling through the Oort cloud, bypassing our outer detection networks entirely. Admiral Grant leaned forward, his weathered face grave. How many ships? Approximately 300 vessels, including their flagship dreadnought, the Minion of Order, Maya replied. But their numbers aren't their greatest advantage. They believe they know everything about our capabilities, our weaknesses, our strategic thinking. They're wrong. She activated the holographic display, showing detailed schematics of Vex technology that she had memorized during her captivity. Their weapon systems operate on quantum resonance frequencies. Their shields use crystalline matrices that can be overloaded by specific harmonic patterns. Their communication networks rely on entanglement protocols that can be disrupted by temporal variance fields. General Harrison, Earth's chief strategist, studied the data with growing excitement. This intelligence suggests vulnerabilities we never suspected. How did you obtain such detailed information? Maya's smile was cold as winter steel. They tortured me for information. What they didn't realize was that I was studying them just as intently. Every interrogation technique they used revealed something about their technology, their psychology, their limitations. Their limitations? Admiral Grant asked. The Vex have conquered 17 star systems, but they've always faced species that think like them, logical, methodical, predictable. They've never encountered humanity's greatest weapon, our ability to adapt, to improvise, to turn apparent weakness into strength. Maya called up another display, showing the false intelligence she had fed to her captors. I convinced them that our fleet is massed at Beta Centauri, that our main defenses are concentrated around Jupiter, that our communication networks are vulnerable to quantum interception. They've positioned their forces to counter threats that don't exist. Meanwhile, General Harrison said, understanding dawning in his eyes, our actual defenses are positioned exactly where they won't expect them. Precisely. But it gets better. Maya's expression grew predatory. The Vex have a fatal flaw in their strategic thinking. They assume their enemies will fight like them, large formations, direct confrontation, overwhelming force. They've never faced guerrilla warfare, asymmetric tactics, or the kind of chaotic creativity that humans specialize in. Admiral Grant stood, pacing to the viewing port where Earth hung in the darkness like a blue jewel. What do you recommend? We let them come, Maya said simply. We let them arrive exactly where they expect to find us, and then we show them what happens when humans fight on their home ground. The next 72 hours transformed the Sol system into a masterpiece of human ingenuity. Maya's intelligence allowed Earth's forces to position themselves with surgical precision, turning the Vex's own expectations against them. Asteroid mines became hidden weapons platforms. Derelict stations were rigged with antimatter charges. The debris field around Jupiter was seeded with stealth drones, programmed to attack, using patterns no Vex strategist had ever encountered. When the Vex fleet finally arrived, tunneling through space in their precise formations, they found what they expected, a desperate human defense concentrated in all the wrong places. What they didn't expect was the real defense, thousands of small, highly mobile craft attacking from every direction, using tactics that defied military logic. Maya piloted her own modified fighter, leading a squadron of volunteers in a direct assault on the Vex flagship. Her ship, redesigned using stolen Vex technology, could outmaneuver their interceptors and penetrate their defenses. But more importantly, she understood their psychology in ways they could never understand hers. "This is impossible," she heard a Vex commander transmit as human forces tore through their formations. "Their tactics are illogical, chaotic, unpredictable." "Welcome to humanity," Maya replied. Her transmission broadcasted on their command frequency. "We're the species that survived ice ages, plagues, and nuclear wars. We're the species that turns suffering into strength, that finds opportunity in chaos, that never ever gives up." The battle for Earth lasted 18 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. The Vex, for all their technological superiority, had never faced an enemy that could think like humans. Their formations crumbled under attacks that came from impossible angles. Their communication networks failed when confronted with signals that followed no logical pattern. Their mighty dreadnought, designed to withstand any conceivable assault, fell to a coordinated strike that used its own weapons against it. In the aftermath, as debris from the Vex fleet drifted through space, Maya found herself back in a debriefing room. But this time, she wasn't reporting a mission. She was planning the next phase of humanity's expansion into the galaxy. "The Vex Empire is fragmented," she told the assembled leadership. "Without their fleet, their remaining forces are scattered and vulnerable. More importantly, they've lost their psychological advantage. Word of their defeat will spread to every species they've conquered." Admiral Grant nodded slowly. "You're suggesting we take the offensive?" "I'm suggesting we do what humans have always done," Maya replied. "We adapt, we overcome, and we help others do the same." The Vex conquered 17 star systems by convincing other species that resistance was futile. We've just proven them wrong. Maya stood, looking out at the stars with new understanding. Her ordeal had been horrible, but it had also been humanity's greatest gift. The Vex had tried to break her, to study her, to understand her. Instead, they had revealed their own weaknesses to the one species in the galaxy that could exploit them. "The Vex called us primitive," she said quietly. "They thought our emotions were weakness, our chaos was inefficiency, our stubborn refusal to give up was just ignorance. They were wrong on every count." She turned back to face the room, her eyes bright with possibility. "Humanity isn't just special because we survived. We're special because we learned that survival isn't enough. We learned to thrive, to grow, to become something better than what we were. And now we're going to teach the galaxy what that means." The torture had ended, but Maya's real mission, the liberation of 17 star systems and the birth of a new galactic order, was just beginning. The Vex had tried to break the human spirit. Instead, they had unleashed it upon the stars.